Join me in today's video for a cozy reading vlog of the YA fantasy book Us in Ruins by Rachel Moore. Hi, so I have a reading update. I have made it to chapter 10, page 113. So let me first tell you a little bit about what this book is about, and then I'll get into my first thoughts. So this book follows 17-year-old Margaret, who goes on a school archaeological trip to Pompeii. And she's hoping that she will be able to find all the shards of a mythical magical vase. It is rumored that whoever puts all the pieces of this vase back together will become loved by everyone around them. And this really appeals to Margaret because she lately has just been struggling to find a place where she belongs and to find people that accept her for who she is. And to help her in her journey, she has the journal of lost teenager Van Keen. And he is one of the only people to find all the shards of the vase at one point in time. However, in a twist of unexpected events, she ends up finding a statue in the ruins that looks exactly like Van. And when she touches the statue, it ends up coming to life. And so now Van is before her in the flesh. But unfortunately, she has idealized and romanticized him in her mind from reading the journals. But it turns out that he is kind of arrogant and kind of a jerk. And he ends up stealing her scooter and leaving her behind at the ruins, and she has to walk back the 5 miles to her hotel. However, Margaret is determined to find all the pieces of this vase, and so her determination ends up with her running into Van again, and eventually they end up teaming up to find the vase. And so our story goes from there. And so now for my thoughts. So far I am enjoying this book. I'm finding it a very fun read so far. And one of my favorite things about this book so far is the writing style and the tone. And this book is told in third-person perspective, and I prefer third-person perspective over first-person. And the overall tone of the book is fun and snarky and lighthearted. And the writing very much reflects that. There have been so many lines in this already that have just made me laugh and made me smile, and so I'm gonna read a few of those. So one of those moments in the book that just made me chuckle was when Margaret, she is running away from the guards at the ruins, and they're saying stuff to her in Italian, and she doesn't understand what they're saying, and she yells back, "Sorry, I haven't reached that Duolingo level yet." That just made me smile. And then another line in the book that made me smile reads, "When one door closes, a window opens." I just thought that was fun. And then another little passage that I wanted to share and that I really like, and I think other book lovers will really appreciate, reads, "There was no telling what she'd encounter in the ruins. Quicksand, rolling boulders, a tall, dark, and handsome dreamboat she'd become enemies to allies to lovers with." And that's the other thing about Margaret. She likes to read. And so I can really relate to that side of her. And so far as a character, I am really liking her. She's very relatable. She feels very much like a teenager. She talks about how she keeps, for the past 6 years, she keeps trying all these different things out, like karate and ballet and water painting, but nothing really sticks to her. And I feel like I went through that a little bit when I was a kid. I tried gymnastics for a day, I tried Girl Scouts for a day, and so I can really relate to just trying to find a place where you belong and that feels right. So even though the overall tone is fun, there is an underlying tone of seriousness because it is really clear that Margaret, she is hurting and she just wants to find people that accept her in a place where she belongs. For example, when people find out that Margaret's favorite novel is a romance novel, they end up looking down at her and making fun of her for it. And you can see that this has scarred her because in one of her interactions with Van, he ends up finding that book in her bag and pulling it out, and so she kind of braces herself for him to make fun of her, but he doesn't, and instead he looks at her and goes, "You seriously dog air these pages?" He is outraged because she's dog airing pages in a book. And so that shows a little bit of Van's personality, and I am liking him as a character so far. And he does, like, at first he comes off as arrogant and kind of a jerk, but you can tell, like, something happened to him in his past that made him that way. And so I'm really interested to learn more about him. And at one point, when Margaret is like, oh, let's team up, he looks at her and he's like, I don't do partners. So clearly, like, I feel like maybe someone burned him in the past or something, and that's why he acts the way he does. And so those are all my thoughts for now. So like I said, I'm enjoying it, and I'm excited to learn more about our characters and to see where their adventures take them. So now I'm going to take a reading break and have some lunch, and I need to do laundry. I made bread dough yesterday, so I need to put that in the oven. So today is September 8th, and I need to still set up my reading journal spread for September, so I think I'm going to do that after I do all those other things. Hi, so it's the next day, and I'm back with reading update. So I ended up finishing this book this morning. I ended up really enjoying it, and I'm giving it 4 stars. It was a really fun read that had a little bit of everything. It had action, it had adventure, it had romance, family bonds, and soul searching. And this book was pitched as having like Mummy and Indiana Jones vibes, and I definitely 100% agree that those are there. There was magic, exploration of ruins, traps, curses, and betrayals. And after reading this, I really kind of want to go watch The Mummy again. And the other thing this book does, it mentions The Mummy and Indiana Jones 2 in it. And that's the thing about this book. So it takes place in modern day. So there are references to modern day things, and they're quite frequent in the beginning of the book. So I was a little worried by that, because I feel like sometimes if a book references too many things like that, then it feels bogged down. But I was pleasantly surprised by this book because it worked really well with all the references. And I actually ended up enjoying them. And I feel like the references a lot of the times added just to like the fun, lighthearted atmosphere of the story. For example, there's a mention of McDonald's at once in here. And that was one of my favorite parts of this book. It was just like a really funny scene, and I just loved how McDonald's was utilized. And there were a lot of action-packed life or death moments in this book, but there are also quieter moments between characters that I really appreciated. For example, there are scenes with Van and Margaret together where they're just getting to know each other and just letting down their guard around each other, and I thought those scenes were really sweet and cute. And overall, I found Van and Margaret's romance just to be really sweet and cute. It's only a small part of the book, but it's like always there in the background. And Van and Margaret were definitely the most developed characters in this book, but there are also some side characters that had some layers as well. For example, Margaret's classmates. So in the beginning of the book, Margaret's classmates are kind of there to show like how she doesn't belong and how she's an outsider, because all her classmates have taken archaeological classes at her school, but she's the only one who hasn't, and they recognize that, so they're kind of like, why are you here? And they're not very nice to her in the beginning of the book. At first I thought, oh, they're just there just to like kind of show that she doesn't belong. But then later you get her actually bonding with one of her classmates. And so I just like how there was some character development and progression there. And also she also has a scene with her teacher as well too that also has some character development. The book also does explore the relationship between Margaret and her father as well. So by the end of the book, you have the progression of Van and Margaret's romance, you have the progression of the plot, but you also have progression of these other relationships as well, like her standing with her classmates and her teacher and her relationship with her father. and I just thought all that was really well done. And speaking of the ending, I really loved the ending of this book, and I thought it was a perfect ending for this book. And so overall, I would definitely recommend this book, especially if you're looking for a standalone YA fantasy that is just a lot of fun and that will leave a smile on your face and your heart feeling happy. So if you have read this book already, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!